Between 2024 and 2025, I was able to take a heating and air conditioning company from 1.5 million a year to 3 million a year in revenue from online advertising, where our leads came from online advertising, and that was approximately 95% of the leads that we all generated. So 95% of the revenue came from online advertising. And in this video, I'm going to go over the exact process that we used to double our revenue and what the breakdown looks like and what we're going to do for the next year to increase our revenue closer to 5 million. Now, I'm going to break down all the lead sources that we used, the market that we're in, all the numbers and all the breakdowns that we had. And this doesn't mean that this will work for your business, because this worked for a particular contractor that we worked with, and he was very skilled in sales. And we, as a marketing company, worked with him really well. And so the success that we have in one market with one particular contractor won't guarantee success for everyone else. Oftentimes we have contractors in the same area that can't even replicate the same numbers. However, there are things that we can control, things that we can't. And I hope this data helps you in your home service business and HVAC business grow from the data that we have collected in the past year. So let me go over some rough numbers on where we were at in the business, where we found them in 2024. So 2024, it was basically, it was the business owner, operator, and one crew basically, and crew. So you had one install crew of like 3 guys doing all the installs. And the first year, he had been running, we didn't have when I met with him, we didn't have a website, we didn't have a Google Maps profile. All he had was a Yelp profile. And he had a Yelp profile with 30-ish reviews that were all 5 stars. And he was buying leads from Yelp. So he was spending $1 to $2K a month, and he was doing, upwards to 50 to 100K a month, upwards to 10 installs a month without me. And from here, when we started to work together, we started is we got him a website, we got him on Google Maps, started collecting reviews. The first thing that we did was we went into meta ads, and we didn't turn this guy into a 3 million a year company overnight, is we added one lead source at a time. But initially, what had already worked for this guy was Yelp, right? And I'm a Yelp advertising partner, but Yelp doesn't work for everyone. Yelp worked for him because he already had 30-ish 5-star reviews. He already had a habit of, when he was doing a job, he's collecting reviews for his customers because he knows that is what customers are looking for, right? It's already a habit. So he already had this habit for Yelp. I just need to introduce this habit into Google, right? So that's the first thing that we did immediately. And at this time, I also want to note that we were in Southern California. Right, this is our market, right? And so, the average ticket I'll get into, but Southern California, home value is pretty high, anywhere from $500 to $2 million homes. The cost per system is, pretty much on average for a 4-ton changeout, anywhere between 10 to even 25K, right, per system here in Southern California. So we're in a good market with good home value, and people can get approved. People have decent credit, right? They have to, right? And then this is a pretty much year-round market, right, with some variability, right? Now, what did we do and what worked for us, right? The first thing that we implemented for them was, we want to get all the low-hanging fruit, is meta ads, right? So we started running meta ads, 50 per day, had some wins 3 weeks in, bumped it to 100 per day, and now we spend upwards to $300 per day on meta ads. The next thing that we looked at too was Google. Specifically, we got our Google reviews up. So we had our GMB, started collecting reviews. We got Google local service ads set up. And on local service ads now, we get 30 to 60 phone calls a month at $28 per call or message. So we're spending, usually 1.5 to 2K a month, or even as low as 1, and depending on pickup, depending on the amount of calls that turn into systems, and we minimum yield anywhere between 20 to 50K in revenue from that. If we're able to spend 3 to 5K, I would yield 50 to 100K from LSA. Yeah, that's what the numbers look like. Then from Google, we ran some pay-per-click, mixed results, made a return. We made a return because just mixed results. I think we just kind of broke even. So we stopped that for a while because all the leads we're getting were highly volatile. What we really focused on was YouTube ads. So on YouTube, we spent upwards to, started at 75 a day, went up to 200-300 per day. And we're doing really, really well with that. And of course, we run Yelp up to 2K per month on average. So, and then we have some leads that we get from like new construction or some relationships that we had. But dominant sources for us are Meta ads, Google, specifically our Google Maps, Google Local Service ads, our YouTube, and Yelp. So I would say money that we're spending on advertising is we want to look at how much we're spending and what we're getting out of it, right? And so one benchmark that we knew really well, right, on the marketing side is what is our cost per lead per channel? Everything that we try, what is our cost per lead per channel, okay? And the next thing that we look at is what is our booking rate, right? Out of the leads that we get, how many do we go to their homes for? And then what is our close rate? And then out of what we close, what is the average order value, right? Because sometimes the average order value is higher on one channel. So it's worth continuing, even if we have less of a close rate or a less booking rate, even if a cost per lead per channel is worse. So these are all the numbers that we're tracking per source. And for us in our market, we'll go over with you everything that we're experiencing. So we'll go over Meta, Google, LSA, we'll go YouTube, and then we'll talk about Yelp. So these are the big four first. So the cost per lead for Meta is, I would say, on average across the year, $50. On Google LSA, it's $28 per call or message. For YouTube, it was $104. For Yelp, I think it was, booking rate is anywhere between 40 to 60%. Google LSA, pretty much 40 to 60%. YouTube, 40 to 60%. I would say Yelp, 25 to 33%, not as good. Right. Now, what is our close rate? Our close rate from all these things really is our close rate, I would say, Meta, we're at a 33%. Google LSA, we're pretty much at a 50%. YouTube, we're at a 50%. Yelp, we're at anywhere between 20 to 33%. What is our average order value? Typically 10 to 12K. Okay. So what is our average order values? Typically on Meta, 10 to 12K, average order value. LSA, I would say average order value here is 10 to 14K. YouTube is 14 to 20K, and Yelp is maybe 10 to 12K. So here, let's take a look at the numbers, right? YouTube is the most expensive channel for us. And from here, but with the reason that we keep it, although it's more expensive, nearly 2 to 4 times the cost of running other channels, the average order value is much higher. And we're closing 50% of those leads. And while the booking rate is approximately the same, right? If to be all honest, the one channel that's probably the worst for us is Yelp. Right, consistently the worst for us is Yelp due to the fact that we have a very low booking rate. The cost per lead is okay, the amount of leads we're getting is okay, but we're consistently have a very low booking rate and we have a very low close rate. And the order value is pretty much the same as everyone else. You look at the numbers wise, pretty much the best for us is really the 3 other platforms, right? And so all 3 of these other platforms is more consistent for us, but we keep Yelp because we still want to have enough leads to run for a second person that we're bringing on, right? More than the owner. But these lead sources were allowing us to, generate on average in the past year, 250 to 300K. I think our average was 250K a month in the year of 2025. Okay. And what that looked like, I remember September is when we had kind of like a heat wave. We were running everything at once. I believe we're spending 6K Meta, 2K LSA. We're spending 6K YouTube, 2K Yelp. So we're spending 12, 4, 16,000 to yield approximately 250K. Right. If you look at, if let's say you were to make 20% profit. Why is this not recording? So, look at all these platforms, right? If we look at Meta, Google, and YouTube, the average order value, look at all this, look at all the booking rates. Meta, the cost per lead is $50, booking at 40-60%, closing at 33%, 10 to 12K average order value is, look at all these numbers. Yelp was the worst channel, but we actually still kept it because we wanted to keep busy. And so it was, we're still making money from it to where we keep running that as an advertising platform. YouTube is the most expensive, but we were making up for it and having a higher ticket that we're selling for each product. And then Meta and Google LSA was what's most consistent for us. All of these were able to yield, we did it on average of 250K a month the past year. So what that spend was looking like, for example, in September, spent like $6,000 a month on Meta, $2,000 on LSA, $6,000 on YouTube, $2,000 on Yelp, right? So we spent $16,000 on ads, and we had a 20% profit margin. Right, everything's said and done. Let's say it was a fifth of that, so you'd be spending 16K to yield 50K, which is basically a 3x ROI, which is pretty good, right? Depending on various other factors. But I think if this is roughly where you're at, there is margin for error as well, right? But to be honest, where you want to be spending 16K, you want to be closer, in my opinion, on the 300 to 400 mark, 400K mark, right? I think with this same spend, we can yield 300 to 400K. We just have to have really good booking rate and really good SOPs. And so this is the exact lead stack that was able to get us here, right? First, we started with one salesperson. We had on and off different technicians, but what we were doing is we're able to book 8 to 10 calls a day between two people, the business owner and his brother. And running all these calls we're able to consistently do $250K a month in new client revenue. And I'm not counting maintenance or any of those things. Right, this is all new revenue that came from online advertising. And so these are the same channels that we're utilizing this year. And one thing that we wanted to move into was also Google pay-per-click, right? And we're even trying next door ads right now. We have a lot of creative liberty in testing a lot of advertising, trying out different lead sources with this company. And that's why we had these results, right? If you're a business owner that's scared to try different lead sources and you want to be, a company that is just 20, 30 installs a month, but you're not willing to try out new things, you're going to be in a tough spot, right? But another thing is we never buy leads from other companies. We always generate our own leads, and we know how much we get it for. We know what our booking rate is, and we know what our close rate is. We know our exact numbers to a T, which is why within 2 years, we're able to double the revenue in our business, because we knew exactly what to do and what buttons to press and where to spend, right? If you keep buying leads from other places, you never know what the exact number that is you're generating leads for. Therefore, when you spend and want to double money when things are going good, you can't differentiate from the good and bad, right? Then you never know what to do and actually to get more, right? You lose control and you hope other people just bring you more business in the business. So you want to work with us, want to adopt a similar strategy, book a call with us below. We're going to see if we're a good fit to work together.